A reminder that no matter how much music you listen to, there will always be more that you haven't.
I can't keep up.
All right, I am very sleep deprived, but I'm comfy here in my spooky cardigan. We're going to check out more of your underground metal albums on Bandcamp, and we're going to start with Serement with Abhorrent Invocations out of, label is out of France. The bass is pretty sick, I'll already say. Alright, so getting a lot of Behemoth vibes for sure on this one, but also mixed in with some just old school HM2 driven goodness, a lot of Entombed in those guitars, maybe a little necrophobic in there too, because it's definitely on the blackened end of the spectrum, which I appreciate. I think the production's really strong. I like the guitar tone. From what I'm hearing of the songwriting, it sounds pretty cool. I'm hearing some dynamics in there. So yeah, as far as just getting me interested in listening to the whole thing, I think you got me. So yeah, check out Serement with Abhorrent Invocation. All right, next up we have Autolith with Artificial Heaven out of Memphis, Tennessee, where I lived for 5 years. Yeah, this sounds right up my alley. I'm getting kind of like Converge mixed with some crust and sludge, all kind of mashed together. Maybe even just like the lightest hint of High on Fire in some of the guitars and overall production choices, getting a lot of like kind of Kurt Ballou sounding production approach on here. And yeah, all that stuff is stuff I enjoy. So I'll definitely be checking out more of this. Yeah, I don't really have any feedback either. Sounds excellent. Can't wait to check it out more. All right, we've got this, which I don't know how to pronounce. And I'm not going to look at the email right now because I'm tired and lazy. But this came out in April, and they're out of Russia, as you might have guessed from there. And this is called 2019, but it looks like it came out this year. So. Yeah, it feels like a good kind of double feature with the last one, actually. This one more leaning into just kind of pure metallic hardcore on the heavier side of things, making me think of stuff like Nails too. Maybe a little bit of Jesus Piece. Loving the D beats. Again, great bass guitar on here too. Production is awesome. Been really, you know, it's quite a time for independent musicians to put out like studio quality stuff just out of their bedroom. So very cool. Also sounds up my alley. All right, we have Panzerkrieg 666 with Westerweiterung, guessing German. So extremely aggro, war-themed black metal here. They say they're influenced by Marduk and Dark Funeral. Again, I would guess they're German based on the name. Germany's in the tags, so I assume so. Again, great production where it's like very full and balanced and everything's coming through clean, but it also like still has that kind of second wave rawness and edge to it that I think is important. You know, you don't want overly glossy black metal. It kind of goes counter to the whole concept of it, I would say. But yeah, another one like shit that you haven't missed yet, y'all. Sending me some really strong stuff, and frankly, it's overwhelming. So feel free to like slow down too, because I'm just like buried in requests. I don't think you even realize. But let's move on to the next one. All right, we've got AYAR with no ID. That's the best you're getting out of Finland. Like the spooky shaman vibes. Alright, so some very genty deathcore, but with that kind of Scandinavian spin. Reminds me a little bit of Cabal, who, if I remember correctly, are out of Denmark, so neighbors there. Like the imagery, kind of different. I was expecting more of almost like a folky black and death metal kind of thing, but no, much more deathcore, which is kind of rising in that Scandinavian region. I feel like some of the better newer deathcore bands coming out of there, much more interesting to me than a lot of the US newer stuff that's been coming out. So interested there. I think my one piece of feedback would be just based on the little bit of sampling that I did, I could see how those riffs could get extremely repetitive, but maybe there's more dynamics at play. Again, it's not helpful to like fully judge what the overall like songwriting and dynamics of an album are going to be from this little segment. But definitely worth checking out, and yeah, I'll be interested to, if I have time to listen to the whole thing, see how it plays out. All right, we got Ruinforge with Mist and Myth out of Atlanta, Georgia. So getting a lot of the kind of like folkier side of melodic death metal coming through here. Definitely some Ensiferum, maybe a little older Equilibrium, especially with like those symphonic elements for both of those bands, but also maybe a little Amon Amarth, a little Mors Principium Est. Lots of good stuff here. I'm a big fan of all those things, and so I like that more kind of folk-tinged melodic death metal sound. I like the aesthetic here that ties into that. Production sounds really strong, and all of this, it looks like it's a one-man project. Jordan Fowler is his name, and excellent. far more impressive always when I find out it's just like one person doing all this. So that's crazy. That's a crazy amount of work, and the amount of layering and stuff on the production, it's impressive. So yeah, definitely another one I hope I will have time to listen to more fully. All right, Grievings making a return with Pyre out of Louisiana. Some more super gnarly, kind of slimy sounding, like blackened hardcore. It's the phrase that always comes to mind most when I listen to these guys. Yeah, I like how you kind of capture sort of that vibe. There's a little bit of like sludgy energy in there too, but mostly sticking to the faster side of things. And yeah, it reminds me of a couple of different projects. I think I mentioned last time that we talked about this group, and in particular, Portrayal of Guilt, I think, is a big one that comes to mind. They tend to, say, kind of be on the slower side as compared to this, but just something about the overall kind of like phlegmy, gross quality of it makes me think of that. And yeah, I like any music that makes me not only like emotionally feel something, but feel like I need to go take a shower, which I do need to anyways. But yeah, sounds like more good stuff. You may have caught me wearing a shirt from them. I'm working hard though on exercising and trying to fit into some of my shirts better right now, if I'm to be honest. So if you haven't seen some of those bands out there from these segments, if you haven't seen your shirt in a while, it's probably because I just don't fit in it anymore, which is a little embarrassing to say, but you know, shit happens. So moving on to the next one. All right, we have Riata with Riata out of Glasgow, UK. So some more melodic death metal on the folky side. This one much more, they're Celtic themed, which is something I always think is pretty neat. Plenty of good bands in that style. And yeah, songwriting wise and performance wise, I'm liking this a lot. I do think the production could use some work. It feels a little flat, a little thin. And I think it's taking away from, you want music like this to like really pop. So again, it kind of takes me back to, where is it? Was it this one? Check this one out a little bit more and see what he did with his production and see if there are ways you can apply that more to this. Because I just think this would sound much more grand, much more profound with that kind of sound. But otherwise, like, the music sounds really great. So yeah, score another one. Big melodic death metal fan, again, especially on the folky side. So love this stuff. All right, we have Doubtsower with Nothing Reduced to Everything. Also out of UK. So they say doom metal stoner, but there's a lot more than that going on here. I was getting a lot of comparisons coming out of that. Bloodhouse Nord kind of floated to the top, but also like mixed with like Aphex Twin, Primitive Man, Full of Hell, but then also like The Prodigy, little Akira Yamaoka for good measure with some of the more like ambient kind of stuff. So yeah, this is definitely different than anything we've gotten to on this video so far, which I like. Break things up a little bit. Long tracks too, so this is definitely something I'd see myself more kind of vibing to in the background while I'm working on something, but there's a place for that too. That's not a bad thing, but also like it seems like there's a lot of rewarding stuff in here if you were to kind of like zero in on all the different things going on. I mean, even in that just, minute or so that we sampled there was a lot of stylistic diversity there. So, dig that. Production's great. Especially recommend listening to this one with headphones for sure, because it is creepy. So yeah, Doubtsower, check them out. All right, we have Phantom with Transylvanian Nightmare out of Guadalajara, Mexico. Okay, that also sounds pretty sick. So some kind of blackened thrash and speed metal there. Love the reverb on the vocals. Always a big fan of that. It really brings out sort of the 80s in this style. And closest comparison, I'd say probably early Creator. Definitely getting a lot of that shot to kill kind of energy on this one. Guitar line sounded great because it sort of traverse the spectrum that you can have there, from like the kind of raw, more Motorheady sounding speed metal stuff to more German thrash, Teutonic thrash, and also the more melodic stuff that we were getting into there too with the soloing. So pretty impressive. Band photo too. I love that it this looks like an 80s band photo. So very, very cool, really leaning into that vibe and energy, and I'm here for it. And you know what? Come to think of it, I'm dumb. I think we previously covered them with this one, if I recall, because that album cover looks familiar. I think I even used it in the thumbnail on that one. So glad to see them back with this EP. Always a good time. All right, we have Demersal also making a return. We've covered them previously. This is a self-titled out of Denmark. banger mix here of like hardcore, screamo. I'd throw mathcore in the mix too, with some of that more chaotic drumming and guitar work, those kind of like jangly sounding guitar tones. To love the production. This definitely taps into stuff I listened to a lot in the 2000s. Even getting a little like the Number 12 Looks Like You, like especially their earlier stuff, kind of like nuclear, sad nuclear era energy coming through on that. Again, Denmark, lots of amazing stuff coming out of like especially the Copenhagen area from kind of like various elements of like the hardcore and post-hardcore scene, and then like I said earlier, deathcore too. So it's been cool to kind of see the rise of this stuff from a different perspective, and I really dig this. I've been considering whether or not I think this video will air after my best of May video. I've been considering this for that. There's so many things though, so it's just hard to keep up. So either way though, definitely check out Demersal. They're excellent. All right, we have Kathodos with Parasomnia, Pavor, Nocturnus. The label is out of Rhode Island, but I'm not positive about the band. There is Providence in the tags. Step back here. Okay, very dark, eerie stuff on this one. Another one I'd highly recommend listening to the headphones because they play a lot with the left and right. Sometimes it even sounds like voices are coming from like behind me. So it's enough to give you some goosebumps there. It's kind of interesting mix. Just overall like atmospheric. I wouldn't necessarily call this 100% ambient. It's not really like that. I'd almost consider it like what kept coming to mind is like these guys could open for like Imperial Triumphants. Even though they sound quite different, I think they have a very similar sort of energy to them, and maybe even kind of like ethos towards how they're approaching the music. Just very, Imperial Triumphant, obviously much louder, more dense. But I forgot to mention on the last one too, the the screamo one with I love the brass implementation on that too for Demersal. But anyways, for this, yeah, very, very creepy. This album art fits it extremely well. It's very well produced. Longer tracks, again, more something me personally I'd see myself just kind of throwing on in the background while I'm working on other stuff. But then again, it might make me feel like I definitely need to have the light on if I'm doing that. So you're evoking something, and that is much appreciated. All right, y'all, I think that's a perfect one to end on for today. I've got more in my queue, but some of them are not fully out yet, so this feels like a good place to cut it off and make the episode not too long. Thank you, as always, for watching these segments. They continue to be the least popular, but they're one of the most important, I would say, because there's just, as you can see, so many talented musicians and bands here that just gets sorely overlooked. And frankly, I think this is way better than like half of the big stuff that comes out. Like this compared to like that Kerry King album, I'd take pretty much anything on here over that. Even though I thought that album was fine, it was better than I thought it would be. But yeah, these knock that out of the park. So anything we can do to raise these names up. So share these bands, share the video with others to get other people on board with this. And if you want to support me more so I can keep doing these despite the fact that they perform more poorly, consider becoming a channel member. You get some additional perks from doing that. You can support me on Patreon as well. And then also there's a whole playlist of these videos that you can check out too. But I think that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.